Welcome to another edition of the Lasagna Show. It is your friendly neighborhood lasagna here again after a phenomenal offensive performance from the New York Yankees. This is the type of baseball we want to see right there. That is Boone Ball. That is peak June swoon Yankees baseball. That is very predictable snowball effect slump type Yankees baseball. When shit goes bad for this group year after year after year after year after year, it snowballs. It gets bad. Bad gets ugly. And it happens quickly. You know, things get out of control. It can't just be a short-lived stretch. It's got to be a historically bad stretch. It's got to be one of the worst stretches you've ever seen in your life, which is what we're currently watching. You know, there's a lot to say. There's a lot that's already been said. You know, scroll through the timeline. None of the fans are happy right now. For those of you who are paying hard-earned U.S. currency to go sit in that stadium and watch that offense right now, I got to tip my cap to you, man. I couldn't do it. In a June swoon period like this, hell no. I'm not forking over my hard-earned greenbacks to Hal Steinbrenner for this slop, especially when nothing changes. You know, leadership stays the same. Same shit we've seen year after year. I had a tweet earlier from 2023. It was another historic stretch in August in that season when the offense was terrible. You know, bad became worse. Snowball effect. Things were ugly. And, you know, it's the same thing. We're watching the same exact thing that happened 2 years ago. It's probably happened in other times, 2024. It's happened other seasons. Nothing changes. You know, extensions keep getting handed out to the GM and the manager. You know, nobody in the dugout seems, you know, obligated to stand up and show some fire during the game in the dugout. You know, God forbid somebody shows a little testosterone in that dugout. And the TV cameras catch it. Oh my God, Yankees won't be able to control the narrative in the media. Oh my God, it's so terrible. It's so scary. You know, God forbid that happens. But we get to some of these comments real quick. I know people are fed up. T Diggity says it's right here in front of us. You know what it always is. Brandon says, my God, this team sucks. Right now, they are awful. OnlyFans says, don't crash out, my goat. What's up, man? No crash out yet. No promises, though. You know, you never know where this can go. Baseball is canceled. Says I canceled baseball for now until they start winning. Ian says 1 run in 36 innings. I got some numbers to reach for you here in a bit, you know, to show you how horrible this offense has been. So I'll read that to you here in a bit. Donald P says this team fucking sucks. Right now they certainly do. At least the pitching's been pretty good, you know. Brandon Bukowski says everyone is ice cold at the same time, and everyone was hot at the same time too. So we are watching, you know, a full group of regression at the same time. Everyone is absolutely freezing cold, including Mr. 400 Aaron Judge. The guy is totally lost right now, and he hasn't looked the same since that day off. Everyone's going, oh, he's never going to hit 400. You know, it wasn't sustainable. I get it. Duh. Nobody assumed he was going to hit 400. If you did, you know, this is a rude awakening for you. But it happened. This snowball effect for him looking so bad happened right after that day off. He didn't look thrilled in the dugout. There were reports out that he tried to convince Aaron Boone to let him play, and he didn't. So you know that day off might have thrown off the rhythm. You know, mindset might be a little different. Something happened because since that day off, he's been horrible. He's been atrocious. Hasn't looked the same. Approach is bad. He's chasing. Doesn't look right. So, you know, unfortunate because when Aaron Judge isn't hitting, you know, this offense struggles to score runs as we've seen in the past. It's the Aaron Judge show. It's always been the Aaron Judge show. You just hope the guys around him can, you know, pick up the slack a little bit when he inevitably falls into a little bit of a slump because he's human. After all, he's not going to hit, you know, 75 home runs every year and hit 450. So, you know, the rest of the group is slumping at the same time as Aaron Judge, and it's one of the worst offenses in baseball in the last week, maybe more than that. So it's tough to watch for sure. And, you know, you just wish other guys would step up at this time, but unfortunately not. It's just a full group regression at the moment. It's tough to watch. Let's see. Ian says 87 down the dick and nobody can hit it. That was brutal, man. You think a guy throwing under major league hitting speed would be something that would help get these guys out of the rut. Move up in the batter's box, wait back a little bit, let the ball travel and spray it the other way, try to crush some, pull a mistake. They weren't hitting him, man. This was Kyle Hendricks' best start as an Angel tonight. And it's funny because I tweeted earlier today, if they can't hit this glorified slow pitch softball pitcher tonight, this offense might be in a worse spot than I thought. And they looked horrible, terrible. They can't hit high velocity, can't hit low velocity, can't hit breaking balls, can't hit fastballs, can't hit the ball up, can't hit the ball down, can't hit the ball in, can't hit the ball away. What can they hit right now? Because they ain't hitting shit. It's tough to watch. There has been a couple balls that have gotten to the track, warning track. It looks like the balls might be dead right now. Some people saying the weather's not great in the Bronx right now. A little bit rainy, a little bit gloomy, kind of cold. So, those things do play a factor. But at the end of the day, the other team's figuring out ways to score runs, and you're not. So you can't use the same excuses because both sides have to play in the same conditions. And this group is just not finding a way to put string hits together, not finding a way to move runners. And it's ugly to watch. Not a good product right now. Little J says this is worse than a June swoon. This is like a June Category 5 hurricane. This is awful. Lee Hart says, was it even this bad last year? I'd have to look at it. But it's I'm going to read some numbers here for you in a second. It's been something that we haven't seen, for several years. So this is pretty bad. Ian says we were below 500 in June, July last year. Bernard is sad. You and me both, pal. Yankee Great says, yeah, keep giving Judge days off when he had an off day. Yep. Dylan says they are seeing some of the most dog shit pitchers in the league, too. This is bad. 100%. Eddie Snap says, give me the 2013 Yankees. At least they know how to score runs. Very true. John says this is a disgrace. I agree. Trey says when we score our next run, our pitcher will be asked. I just know it. That's how the game works, man. The baseball gods are cruel, cruel gods. Mark says, I've never seen it this bad. You were correct when you said they cooled off after the day off. Aaron Judge, yeah, it's rough to see. Bernard says exactly. Nick says, what a real shakeup can this team do? This is an all-time low. Yeah, I like the lineup today, actually. In late May, I thought this was a group that they might go with. When Stanton came back and Jazz was back, and it was, exactly the lineup I put out at that time. Today was the exact same one, and they still couldn't score runs today. So it looks like no matter what combination, a group of guys they put in there, they're just not finding a way to do it, and it's not enjoyable. Noy says, I can't wait for the press conference to see what Boone says. My God, you let me know in the chat because I can't stand to watch that motherfucker, work his way through more bullshit excuses. Revin said, Revon, sorry if I said that wrong. Why can't they at least be mid? Always has to be the worst in the league. It hits hard, man. This is something I was talking to, Bobby Malone on Twitter. We had a couple of conversations back and forth. The manager sets the tone in the clubhouse. The manager is the guy who builds the culture, instills, discipline, instills basic fundamentals, and emphasizes the little things, attention to detail. And this group doesn't do that enough. So when you are in a slump, the lack of situational hitting, the lack of moving runners, the lack of attention to detail comes back to bite you in the ass. I think they're 1 for their last 25 with runners in scoring position. Nobody was even on third base today. I mean, that's awful. This is a major league team. This is a team that is leading in multiple categories offensively in Major League Baseball. And they're 1 for the last 25 runners in scoring position. Couldn't get one runner on third base tonight against a guy who had a 5 ERA with starting pitch that throws 87 miles per hour. I mean, it's tough, man. Dating back to 2023, other years where it's been a bad summer, bad gets worse. And when bad gets worse, you need someone in there who can rally the troops. You need a guy who can, pound the table a little bit, get on some guys, mix things up, instill a little bit of fear in these guys when shit's not going right. A lot of fire under somebody's ass. It just doesn't happen. This is the culture that they wanted after they let Girardi walk in 2017. They wanted a better communicator. They wanted a guy who could be more friendly to the players. They wanted a guy who was softer. They wanted a guy who was going to coddle the young guys more. And this is what you get. When shit hits the fan, when you go face your rival on primetime TV, when you face adversity, when bad things happen, shit gets worse. It snowballs. It continues for way too long. It doesn't just get bad. It's not just a blip in the radar. It's historically bad for an extended period of time. that is a sign that you don't have a good culture in there. You don't have a guy who can breathe fire. There's some stories about Jorge Posada back in the day doing some crazy shit. Jeter was a little bit of a quiet leader, but Jorge was kind of the enforcer. There's stories from Mark Teixeira where he said, there was a healthy fear in Joe Girardi when shit wasn't going right. He'd have veins bulging out of his fucking neck and he'd be breathing fire, jumping right through your ass. And those are, I think that healthy fear in an authoritative figure who is the leader of men is good because it keeps you from getting too comfortable sometimes. There's repercussions when shit doesn't go right. He's going to be pissed off. He's going to jump down your throat. People are going to be held accountable. People are going to be called out. It's going to be uncomfortable. It shouldn't always be comfortable. It shouldn't be a gentleman's club. It shouldn't be a country club. That's not how things should be ran. That's just my opinion. I think a lot of former athletes, a lot of people who have played at a decently high level, who have been around alpha males, who understand the dynamic of a clubhouse, understand that. Sometimes it's a good thing to have a guy who's, runs a tight ship. If you're caught slacking, you're going to get some shit. And it just doesn't seem like that ever happens with this group. A time like this right now, where this is one of the worst offenses in baseball, you just lost your 5th straight. Red Sox aren't good. You lost 3 straight to them. Angels aren't good. That you just lost 2 straight to them. And they're just, guys are just moping around, it sucks, whatever. Looking a little down, looking a little sad. There's nobody. You don't see a guy in the clubhouse marching up and down the dugout going, let's go, pick it up. Let's go, boys. Figure something out. Get on base, move a runner, do some shit. Let's go. Snap out of it. Let's work. I know they're not having a camera on the dugout the whole game. So, maybe that is happening. We just didn't see it. But who's the guy? Stanton, he's a tough dude, but he's a little quiet sometimes. Aaron Judge, he looks like he wants to be friends with everybody. Aaron Boone, he wants to be friends with everybody. Doesn't want to show anybody up with the TV cameras out there. But, there was a video I posted on Twitter a little bit earlier today where I think Kyle Higashioka, this was a couple years back, Kyle Higashioka made a mistake in Tampa, and Anthony Rizzo was standing right in front of him, grilling his ass. That's good. People are like, oh my God, this is uncalled for. Oh my God, he's embarrassing Higashioka. This is so mean. How can Anthony Rizzo do this on TV? This is so sad. Oh my God, I feel so bad for Higgy. Toughen up. This is part of sports. This is part of being an alpha male. This is part of being playing at the highest level. This is part of having a clubhouse full of testosterone and guys that have high standards and expect greatness. It's the New York Yankees. This isn't a golf club where everyone's friendly, tapping each other on the ass, friends. Sometimes shit goes sour. Sometimes attitudes clash. Sometimes guys are pissed off and they show it. And I like that video a lot, that Anthony Rizzo grilling Kyle Higashioka in the dugout in Tampa Bay. I love that stuff. That needs to happen more. I don't know who on this team would do that. I don't think anybody would, because they want to keep things in house. They don't want to give the media stuff to talk about, blah, blah, blah. The Yankees always want to control the PR battle. It's all politically correct answers. It's all, everything's always fine. Oh, we'll just get them tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of been the way things have been for a while, and they haven't won a championship in going on 20 years. So maybe switch things up a little bit. I don't know. I thought things went pretty well in that ALCS in 2017 with Girardi. A bunch of young guys who overperformed a little bit. I thought Girardi got a lot out of that group, and I thought he deserved another chance. You can say what you want about Girardi in Philly. You can say what you want about him getting fired there and things didn't go well, blah, blah, blah. Different organization, different players on that team, different expectations. That's not the New York Yankees. I thought there were some down years during the Girardi era, but he was around for a while. He did win in 2009. He won as a Yankee, as a player. He won a championship there. I thought he had a healthy, he had a spine. He would jump down your throat when shit wasn't going right. He got after the umpires. He got after the players. He was tough. There was reports about Gary Sanchez being all bummed out when Girardi would ream his ass for being a lazy catcher. Stuff like that. I think it was good. I enjoyed that, and I think he got a lot out of that group in 2017 who went toe-to-toe with the Astros, who were cheating, by the way. Group of young guys, taking the game set. I think it went 7 games in the ALCS against that cheating Astros team. And, I thought he deserved another shot, at least to come back for one more year and try to run it back. And they were so opposed to his style of coaching, of managing, of quote unquote communicating with the young guys that Aaron Boone had to come in. And, it just seems like the group doesn't have fire. It seems like they're too comfortable. It seems like everyone's worried about being buddy. Nobody wants to hurt somebody's feelings. Everyone wants to be politically correct and give all the right answers in the media, so the media doesn't have anything to run with the next day. Headlines in the papers, negative PR. It's unfortunate, but streaks like this are when we are reminded that there's nobody breathing fire in there to light a fire under somebody's ass and change things up. It's tough to watch, man. It's disappointing because I have tweets dating back to like March where I said, "Don't fall for the hot start. Don't fall for the hot start." This is very predictable. This team has become very predictable. Yeah, they got to the World Series last year, but you don't have Juan Soto. You don't have Garrett Cole. There's no guarantees you'll get back, even though the American League is, a little weaker than in past seasons. It should be a quote-unquote cakewalk to get back there. So we'll see if last year was a one-off or if this is just, they played a little bit above their heads. We'll see, if Aaron Boone can right the ship here. I don't know what his answers will be after the game today, but there can't be much good to say. You can't say, "Oh, I thought we had some good at-bats." You haven't scored in 29 consecutive scoreless innings. Obviously, those aren't that great of at-bats, or else you'd be scoring some runs. You didn't have a single runner on third base today. Obviously, the offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders there, so I don't know how he's going to, twist his words and try to make this out to be a positive somehow, because that's what he does, and that's what they hired him for. But it's just irritating. The body language for the team doesn't look good. The at-bats are terrible. We see bad base running. We see poor situational hitting. We see guys not being able to bunt. And I know teams don't emphasize bunting much anymore, and a lot of analytical groups will say bunting brings down your potential to score runs that inning. That's fine. I get it. But sometimes it calls for a bunt, especially in extra innings when, you're the home team, you get last at bats, you move a runner to third base, you get two chances to try to bring him in, maybe a pass ball. And you take your chances. It is one of those weird situations where maybe a bunt, maybe it does call for a bunt, but little things just aren't being done properly often enough. So streaks like this become, accentuated. They're extended. It happens. Bad becomes horrible. And, it's just not fun to watch. You can tell body language is bad. I feel bad for the fans in the stands that are having to sit there and watch that shit. It's just awful. Looking at some of the comments real quick. Let me see here. Diego says, hot take, Judge isn't a leader. I think he leads in a different way. But, when adversity strikes, it doesn't seem like he's able to get these guys back in their winning ways. So I don't know how much you value that in a leader, but, it doesn't work. Mikey says, sometimes I forget we're watching grown men play. They're so soft. Can't say you're wrong there. It's unfortunate. Taco Like says, how can the Angels score 4 runs in the Yankees 0? Not great. Josh Morales says, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I agree. Even with adults, I never played with Major League Baseball players. I have coaches that got drafted. I know Michael Tonkin, who was just on the Yankees not too long ago, played against Robert Refsnyder. I know guys that got drafted. I played against them. I know I've rubbed elbows with guys who have gotten to the top, to the highest level. I understand the dynamic of a clubhouse. I know, I've been around the block a little bit. I played baseball for a long time. I wasn't a pro. I played in college. That's the maximum level I got to. My form and my elbow quit on me. It is what it is. But I'm somewhat familiar with, some of these guys, what it takes, talent levels, trends, what makes a good team, what makes a bad team, what makes a good manager, what doesn't make a good manager. I've been around the block a little bit. Some of the best groups I've been a part of are where the manager is a little bit of an authoritative figure who isn't afraid to run a tight ship and will ream your ass when shit's not going right. And that little bit of an uncomfortable fear, it's a healthy fear in your manager. It keeps you accountable. It keeps you from getting too comfortable. I think that's good. This group, it doesn't feel like this group has that. Maybe it's just different behind the scenes and we don't see it. But I think the body language and I think how things spiral out of control in a negative way when these slumps happen, I think that's a telltale sign of what is really happening with this group. And, in 2017, going from a little bit of a quote unquote dictator to an Aaron Boone type who's a little softer is what they wanted. and we've kind of seen the team take his personality. The manager's the culture setter. The culture has been set, and this has been a thing for a while now. We've seen this often. It happens every summer. Bad turns worse, and, here's what it is. So maybe one day they'll make a different decision, and they won't extend Boone for the 30th time, and they'll, change things up again, go a different direction. Girardi was one way. They went a completely opposite direction. It hasn't worked out well. No championships. Maybe they go back to someone, kind of similar to Girardi next time. It is what it is. But, it's probably not going to happen for a while. Boone got extended again, so get comfortable with what we're seeing here. Rob says Yankees need an enforcer. There's no accountability under Boone. Feb says Loaiza getting mad yesterday was the best thing that happened in the past 24 hours. I love him spiking the ball there. I love seeing fire, man. I love seeing it. I love seeing intensity. I love seeing people giving a fuck. I love seeing that stuff. Feb says Judge is a fraud. I don't know why he's a captain. I think he's a captain for a lot of other reasons. He leads in a different way than what some of us think. He's not Tom Brady running through the clubhouse screaming, pumping his fists and shit. He's a little bit more of a Jeter type, lead by example kind of thing, a little bit more quiet, wants to get along with guys, but we don't have an enforcer in the clubhouse that's going to make up for that Jeter not being that type of dude. So, there isn't a Brett Gardner in there. I know maybe Brett Gardner was one of those guys back in the day, but, it just feels like they don't have a guy like that right now. Stanton's a tough dude, as I said earlier, but, I think he's a little bit more reserved. I don't think he's the rah-rah type of dude that you would think a tough dude like him would be. So, who does that leave? Who else in this group? Rizzo's gone. He was a guy that ripped Higashioka on TV in the dugout. Who's the guy? I don't know if they have that. Tom says the type of shit that's the type of shit we did in the Marines. That's what made us better. I don't think the team has to be ran like a military branch, but I think a little bit more intensity, a little bit more accountability, a little bit more fire, a little bit more spine, a little bit more reaming somebody's ass like Joe Girardi used to do might be a good thing. I think a healthy fear, even with adults in the clubhouse, is a good thing. Being too comfortable is never a good thing because things like this happen. Bad turns to worse. Everyone's just looking around at each other like, it is what it is. We'll figure it out. Like, there's no initiative. There's no drive. There's no fire. I love seeing, like that comment from earlier, I love seeing Loaiza spike the ball there. I love seeing fire. Somebody get mad, snap a bat over your fucking knee. Aaron Boone loves to go out there and rip the umpires on the field on camera. Show some of that in the dugout. I want those Nick veins popping. I want to see you marching up and down, back and forth, yelling, firing these dudes up. Change something, because what you're doing right now is not working. And these midsummer slumps happen too often. Bad good turns to worse, and shit goes bad and it stays bad for a while. We kind of got bullied in the World Series. I know some of those games were close, but you fall down 0-3 in the World Series. Series pretty much over. Heard all the Dodgers talking after the series about how the scouting report on the Yankees was just put the ball in play, poor fundamentals, blah blah blah. There's a stat this year. Once the Yankees go down by like 3 runs or more, they're like 0-25 or something like that. I want to see a little bit of fight back. I want to see some fire. I want to see some anger, man. Show some spine. Show some grit. I just want to see it. Feb says 0 killer instinct on this team, 0 gritty players. M. Eddie says bring back the beard rule. That would be hilarious. Louis Siciliano says firing Girardi off that playoff one was malpractice. I thought he deserved. I'm not saying they should have extended him for 10 years. I'm saying he just deserved another opportunity in 2018 to run it back with that group, especially when the team that beat them in the ALCS was the cheating Astros. I thought that 2017 team vastly outperformed what the expectations were. You got to tip your cap to Girardi there. It was a very young group, and they went pretty far. They were one. I think it did go 7 games. I think they were 1 game from the World Series with a team full of teenagers. I think Girardi did a great job. Whatever he was doing worked. I think he deserved at least one more opportunity. If 2018 didn't go right, then you go with what you want to do after that to change the culture. But I thought he deserved at least one more opportunity with that group, and he didn't get it, which is unfortunate. Let's see. Jacob says, "How are you doing, buddy? What's up, man? Not too shabby over here. Another wasted game. Wasting our life watching more bullshit, but it is what it is." Michael G says Boone chalked it up to being baseball. Yeah, of course he did, because he's got no other explanation other than just chalking it up to luck, right? Bernard says, "When the F have we ever done the little things?" It's true. This group under Boone's leadership, what's the John Sterling highlight that was circulating around Twitter when he said they run the bases like drunks? I mean, that's about as cut and dry as you can put it there from John Sterling, who is a Yankee guy, older dude, a little bit more rough around the edges, willing to say things that other people won't, and that's a pretty good way to describe it. It took being embarrassed in the World Series and everyone talking about fundamentals for them to finally make some changes in the off season. So maybe maybe the louder things are from the fans and the media and blah blah blah, it kind of maybe it does lead to some change here and there for the positive. I don't know, but for now it's awful. Clay Lingerfeld says, "Why is DJ still on this team?" He's regressed, man. That little bit of a hot start is not great. Has worn off. Feb says WNBA has more action. Ouch! That's a stretch. I wouldn't go that far. TJ says Yankees are pansies, much like all New Yorkers. Oh, I don't agree there, man. I love New Yorkers. I got a lot of friends over there. There's some really good people, and they got some spine, man. I just think the manager for this group does not. John says it all starts with Cashman. Fire Cashman. I agree. John Falsetta says Posada, Tino, and O'Neill were enforcers. You sure as hell bet your ass they were. Lady Red Sox is in the chat saying, "Go Sox." I know you're going through some shit with the Devers loss. I would apologize, but then I'd be disingenuous because I don't really feel that bad. I would love to not see him until 2027, I think. So, it is what it is. But I do want to see you guys not get so close to the division. Chill with all that winning stuff over there. Not comfortable for me. Revens, my bad. I keep butchering that. I want to see passion from this team. You and me both, pal. Gina says embarrassing. Bernard says judges 1 for 16 with 12 Ks in the last 4 games. Tough look, man. Not good. Toasty says Cole literally said that most people in the organization have been there forever. They're all dinosaurs. It's time to mix things up, man. That group has been there way too long, and obviously their way does not work because they haven't won in a very long time. Eddie Snap says at least the 2013 Yankees at their worst knows how to score a little bit of runs. Josh says, "Yo, Johnny, I'm with the same Josh that intersects with you every day on Twitter. What's going on? What's up, man? Good to have you in here." Oh, he's an Interacts, my bad. Good to have you in here, man. I'm glad you subscribed to the channel. I appreciate that a ton. For those of you who are watching on Twitter, if you go to my Twitter profile, click the blue link in my bio, you can subscribe to the Lasagna Show on YouTube. There might be a time where I won't be able to simulcast to Twitter and YouTube at the same time. So there will be some exclusive content, exclusive shows on YouTube only. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go to my Twitter page, click the blue link, subscribe to the Lasagna Show, like this video, like all the other videos. Let's have some fun this season. Not very fun right now. We're over here having a therapy session, but it's not always sunshine and rainbow. So we'll be here through the good time and the bad, Monday through Thursday. So I always look forward to seeing you guys in the chat here interacting. Let's see. Dodger LLM213 says Dodgers game about to come on. Watch a real team play. Ouch! That hurts, man. I live in LA too. I hear that shit enough as it is. So it is. Ray C says I'm not blaming Williams, but at this point his blown saves early in the season may have partially miss the playoffs. I don't think we'll miss the playoffs. I think they will still have a great shot to win the division. I still think worst case scenario might be the number 1 wildcard team or something like that. Feb says, Jay Laz, you think the Yankees make a big splash at the deadline? They should get Arenado and Helsley. What do you think? Big splash would require them to move some key young guys that they like, especially prospects. I don't see them doing that, especially in a year where you have no Garrett Cole. If shit doesn't pan out at the end of the season, it's an easy excuse for them to be like, you know what, it just wasn't our year. Miss Stanton for a while, miss Luis Hill for a while, no Garrett Cole. There's only so much we can do. It's a built-in excuse. So if they don't pull off some crazy trade and to improve this team by a lot over the deadline, I can see that being their built-in excuse that they run with. And we don't want to move a bunch of guys in the year where we don't have Garrett Cole. I think the players we have are just fine. Blah blah blah. All the bullshit they spew. I can see them saying that again. So I don't expect much of the deadline, but maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I am. Bernard says Lou Gehrig batted better in his last season than this squad, and he was dying. Oh. Whew. That's tough, man. That's tough. Riven says, I love how I called Kyle Hendricks going 6 balls a tree. You sure did, man. All the comments in there said he was going to deal when I said they need to hit, and it's sadly predictable during a spurt like this. Bernard says Lombard is the only worthwhile young player to keep. The rest is a crapshoot. It's tough, man. I like Wells. He's in the best slump right now. I like Dominguez. He's not hitting right now either. Volpe, I hope, shows a little bit of improvement towards the end of the season. He's slumping right now too. There's a young group of guys here that show some promise, but right now it is ugly. Josh Braun says, pack Spencer Jones to Yucatan. What's he worth right now? I don't know. Do people still think there's some potential there? I know my hopes are, I'm losing some hope with Spencer Jones. I think he can still be a good player in some capacity, but, batting average isn't everything. I admit that. I'm not going to say it is, but when you're hitting, low 200s in AA, what are you going to hit in the bigs? 150? You better be hitting 35 homers and having 900 PS if you're going to hit 150. So you got to kind of even it out there. Okay, so for some interesting numbers here, 29 straight scoreless innings. That is awful for the quote-unquote best offense in the league. Are they really the best offense in the league? Or is it just a hot streak to start the season? Are they regressing back to the mean and we're going to see what they actually are going the rest of the way? I don't know. I don't think they're this bad. I don't think they're as good as they showed early. Maybe they're somewhere in the middle. Is that good enough? Who the hell knows? 48 consecutive innings without a lead. With how good this pitching's been, that's brutal. The last time the Angels had back-to-back shutouts in the Bronx was 1999. 1999. I'm dating I'm kind of aging myself here, but in 1999 I was 6. Kind of crazy. This is the third straight shutout for the Yankees for the first time since 2016. That's almost 10 years. That's awful. One for the last 25 with the runners in scoring position, and not one person reached third base tonight. Not manufacturing runs, not finding ways to get on base, not doing the little things. And that leads to some pretty ugly offense, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. John Falsetta said you couldn't get a bottle of tobacco spit for Spencer Jones. His value is not great right now. Do you want to move off a guy when he's at his lowest value? I don't know. Maybe you wait a little bit and he heats up, then you move him. It's tough, man. He's getting close to his mid-20s. That's when you want to see a guy, showing some promise to come up to the bigs and make a big impact. So I just don't know with Spencer Jones right now. I just don't know. I don't think anybody does. John says I was 24.99. We're all aging ourselves here. Tough. It's been a long time since the offense was this bad. It's tough to watch. Riven says this team putting up historic numbers in the worst way, and they, bad turns into worse. They faced Kyle Hendricks tonight, who had a 5 ERA over 5 coming into this game. He went 43% changeup. Wow, that's pretty damn high for your primary pitch to be a changeup. 40% sinker, 14% four seam. So, he was kind of he was pitching backwards for a guy that throws soft. He was slowing you down early, speed you up a little bit with the sinker, speed you up one more time with a four seam at 87 miles per hour, which was the average velocity on that. So even though he's not throwing that hard, when you're starting with changeup primarily and you're finishing at bats with your four seamer, that 80 mile an hour changeup makes 87 mile an hour heater look like 95. So, he's got a method to his madness. He was staying away from the right-handers, running that two seam sinking kind of sinker off the outside corner. He was tunneling the changeup off of the sinker, start you slow, start you a little bit slower, then gas you up, lay with 87, try to blow you away, get one by you when you're looking soft again. So his recipe worked. Many people on Twitter and in the chat predicted it. And he went out there and did his thing. It's not easy to pitch in the big leagues when you throw 87 with your heater. And he goes out there and did it tonight. 6 innings pitched, only 4 hits allowed, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts, which is his season high. His previous season high was 6. He had that after 4 innings. Yankees offense is struggling. That was his best start as an Angel. And he had 13 swings and misses with that, lesser velocity, kind of off-speed kind of approach. When you throw that soft, you got to be crafty. You got to make sure the ball moves. You got to live on the corners. You got to keep the ball down, and he did that very well today. So you got to tip your cap to Kyle Hendricks. The offense is playing pretty damn poorly, but he went out there and he did his thing, executed his game plan in the Bronx, and had the best start has his best start as an Angel. So it is what it is. Will Warren also was solid. He was 48% four-seamer. So, Will Warren's kind of being compared to Clark Schmidt a little bit. Clark Schmidt, heavy cutter, sweeper usage, kind of pitches you backwards, kind of goes heater late in the count. Will Warren, primarily four-seamer, and he doesn't throw that hard, but he did max out at 96 today, which is good for him. He usually lives around 93, 94, but it's good to see him get up there around 96 when he needs to reach back for a little bit more. So 48% four-seamer, 24% sinker. Sinker was also maxed at 96 today, so he's going four-seam. He's going to spin the ball a little bit with the sinker, getting some run on it inside the right-handers, out to the outside corner to right-handers, start at left-handers batter's box a little bit, let it run back, catch the outside corner, running away from lefties, and 22% sweeper, so that's his primary secondary pitch that he goes with the off-speed to try to change things up a little bit during the bat, get some strikeouts. He did have 14 swings and misses, which is really good. A career high in strikeouts, he had 11. Fantastic. The 3 earned runs, I think, is a little bit skewed. There was a ball hit the Jazz with the bases loaded that hit him in the glove. He misplayed the hop, and 2 runs scored because of that. They ruled it a hit, so those runs count as earned runs. He went 6 innings, give up 6 hits, 3 earned runs. I think only one of those should be earned. 0 walks, a guy that struggles with control. He threw strikes. That's good. 11 strikeouts. So great to see him have a career high in Ks, another quality start. And he is progressing as the season goes as a young player, which is great to see. Lady Red Sox says, for the culture. Now, what if I blank myself, Feb? Too many stars in there. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. What this conversation is here, but yeah, good to see Will Warren pitching well tonight. Got no run support. As we all know, the offense is really, really bad right now. I don't know what they do tomorrow with the lineup. Let's see who we're facing tomorrow. Angels already won the series, so they're kind of got some house money. This dude's name is interesting, Kochanowicz. Kochanowicz. He's got one of each letter in his name in the whole alphabet. So his name is basically the entire alphabet. I have no idea how to pronounce it. He is 3-8 with a 5.53 ERA. So naturally he will go 6 or 7 shutout innings tomorrow. Because that is how things go for the New York Yankees when the June swoon hits. This is a Category 5 June swoon. It is a legendary, historic June swoon that we're watching right now. So, you know what? We're all part of history. We're watching some of the worst Yankees baseball offensively that we've ever seen. And maybe we can bond over that. We have something that we have in common is witnessing some of the worst offensive baseball we have ever set our eyes on and sat in front of a television set to consume for 2.5 to 3 hours. Very unfortunate. Lady Red Sox says, Seattle just hit a grand slam off Walker Buehler. I love my life. Well, Giolito kind of pitched a little bit over his head yesterday, so there was some aggression going to happen there. So it is what it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will about do it for tonight. A lot of folks in here after another tough loss. I appreciate you guys in the chat venting. It helps move the show along. And, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different opinions. People over here venting. We're having a therapy session together. The Lasagna Show is a place where you can come get some, how do we want to describe it here? Unfiltered opinions. I don't know Aaron Boone. I don't have a weekly or monthly show with him like some other folks do. I don't go to these Yankee events and have to rub elbows with all these guys and pretend like I can't come on here and share some tough opinions because I'm afraid to go see them in person after something I said. I don't got none of that. So I'm going to come here. I want to, talk about shit how I want to talk about it. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm going to read your guys' opinions from the chat. We're going to keep things 100 over here. We're going to call it how we see it. And that's how shit's going to go on the Lasagna Show. So I appreciate you guys being in here. If you are enjoying this, please go to my Twitter page. click the blue link in my bio. Subscribe to the Lasagna Show. Please like this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the chat often, often, and throughout the whole show. It is very fun to have you guys in here. We'll be doing it every Monday through Thursday throughout the rest of the season into the playoffs. So I would appreciate you guys if you would be a part of the show more often and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I'm looking for ways to make the show better. I'm looking into some things. There's certain things I can't do on my own, so I might have someone else do them. We're looking to grow this thing and make it more interactive and make it a better experience for you guys when you tune in. So I hope you guys appreciate that and will subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all you guys being in here. Unfortunate to have the Yankees playing like this. It is not fun to watch, but we are still watching the games because we are sick in the head. Just kidding. We're diehard fans. That's what we do. We're here for the bad times. We're here for the good times. We're going to bitch about it when shit's going bad, but we're going to enjoy the good times and hopefully all enjoy a championship at some point during the rest of our living, healthy lives on this planet. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But Feb says, J Lasagna the GOAT. I appreciate you, man. I love having you guys in here. I love your comments today. You're definitely one of the more vocal contributors in the chat. But once again, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Do not let the New York Yankees putrid, historically bad offense ruin your evening. I'm not going to let it ruin mine after this. I'm going to go and go to the gym, take some anger out on the dumbbells and get a little pump out of it. So it is what it is. Typical meathead fucking thing to do, but got to get you pumping, got to stay healthy. I hope all of you guys are doing the same. All right, I will catch you guys tomorrow for the post game. Do not miss it. Go subscribe to the Lasagna Show on YouTube. I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, have a great rest of your evening. Go Yankees, and hopefully this shit show of an offense will not last much longer.